So a police officer called into a dispatcher office, and he said, yes, I'm here at 220 Oak Street, and we have an elderly female, approximately 88 years of age. She's wearing a bathrobe. She has a shotgun in her left arm, and she's guarding a mop and a bucket of water to her right. He says on the floor is her husband of 60 years, and he has a gunshot wound to his leg. Apparently, he says, and I quote, she said, he walked across the wet kitchen floor for the 10,000th and last time. The dispatcher said, did you arrest her? He said, not yet. Floor's still wet. Hi, my name is Marlaine, and I am a 30-year marital survivor. Emotion imprints memory, and I remember our first year of marital bliss as if it was yesterday. Billy is the third of 4 boys. I'm second of 5 girls. He was raised with a maid, and I was the maid. I was doing dishes, standing on stools, doing dishes at age 3. About 4 months into our marriage, I came home one afternoon, and Billy was watching football, and he was surrounded by a cyclone. There was newspapers, coffee cups all over the tables. The blankets in the bedroom were rolled into a ball. His athletic shorts and socks and shoes were fragranting the floor. And in the kitchen, there was a jar of mayonnaise that had warmed just enough to have sufficient bacteria to kill you, next to 3 pieces of crusty dried bread. And in that moment, it really sunk into me that plan A was not really working. At that time, we were both working outside the home. I was a campaign coordinator at Washington State University, and Billy was a postdoctoral scholar at the same university. So our hours outside the house were very comparable. But the hours inside the house, it was really clear that for every hour that I spent cleaning, Billy spent the same amount of time dirtying things. So I did what many women do, since there wasn't really a course that we take when we get married. I didn't know how to negotiate this territory, so I complained to my mother. The feminist movement totally screwed modern women, I informed her. Everyone expects me to have a professional career and work full-time along with my husband, but no one, not even my best friends, come to my house and upon finding it a mess, say, that Billy of yours, he is a horrible housekeeper. I'm fortunate my mom is a voracious reader, and she immediately reached into her extensive library and brought out an ancient text from the 1970s called No Trespassing. No trespassing basically says if you want to manage a territory bigger than you can personally maintain, you must give up some authority or you will earn the reputation of a nag, tyrant, or worse. Short translation for me, if you don't want to be called a bitch instead of a bride, divide your real estate and buy duct tape for your mouth. So I did. I sat Billy down and we divided our 4-room apartment in 2. I took responsibility for maintaining kitchen and bedroom, Billy living room and bath, and since I did not want to physically wear duct tape on my mouth, I simply made a solid promise not to say anything to Billy about his learning curve. Easy, no, but I was committed. When I showered in our filthy bathroom, his real estate, I closed my eyes and simply praised God for the hot water that I did not have to haul from a river or heat over a fire. When my girlfriends arrived at our front door and looked with horror upon the hoarding in our living room, I proudly informed them that that was Billy's territory and invited them to come drink tea with me out of pristinely clean cups on our neatly made bed. Oh my goodness, within just a few weeks, I went from complaining and cursing the feminist movement to laughing at our differences and contemplating a career as a comedian. One day, lo and behold, without any prompting from me, I came home to find Billy on his hands and knees in the bathroom, wearing his safety glasses from his lab, gloves up to here, scrubbing the bathroom floor. I told him he never looked sexier. This affection led to babies, 2 of them. Daughters Ari and Alexa were born 3 years apart. Unfortunately, dividing babies was not as easy as dividing housework. In our 7th year of marriage, when our daughters were just 6 months and 4 years of age, I wrote a Dear John letter to Billy, saying I could not live with the arguments we were suffering. Then I boarded a plane with our girls after he left for work and flew from the eastern state of Pennsylvania 3,000 miles back home to the west coast state of Washington, where my family was. Needless to say, having his wife up and fly his children 3,000 miles away was not an agreeable plan for Billy. More telephone arguments ensued, fortunately out of the reach of our daughter's ears. After a failed suicide on my part and a successful temporary suit for custody on his, we sat down together to negotiate again. This time, we acknowledged the calculus having children brought to our marriage and agreed to work on the real skills necessary for success. Did we still fight? Oh, yes. But one thing that proved incredibly important to our willingness to hang in there through future difficult times was appreciating ourselves as learning rather than ill-intending. I am learning, you are learning became our power phrases. When my husband takes a wrong turn while driving and begins to curse himself, instead of piling guilt on guilt by saying, you should have gone left at that last store, I would say, you are learning. When I accidentally washed one of his white dress shirts with the towels, and he's hollering at me, I remind him, I am learning. When our daughters are frustrated with one another, we remind them, you are learning. This simple phrase, I am learning, you are learning, became our freedom phrase. It frees us from criticism of self and others and immediately transmutes frustration to love, compassion, and peace. And if ever my husband or I accidentally butt dial one of you, and you hear us screaming, screw you, that is because we are still learning. And while it may not be visible to others, our 30 years of marriage is confirmation. We are steadily improving. Thank you.